It gives me immense pleasure to launch the Pusa Talk Roundtable Series Edition 1. And this is a personal moment of glory for two reasons. One is one of our vision statement for PIMA was to ensure that we give back to the alumni and the student community with knowledge that can be imparted from experience of senior alumni who's passed out of the college and done well for themselves. And on another level, it's also a big moment of pride because the gentlemen on this call are very close personal friends of mine. I know that all of you are not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to the distinguished alumni who are here to speak today to you and share their experience and their wisdom. I just want to introduce Rajat, and I will request Rajat to then introduce the rest of the panelists on the call today. Rajat and I go back to 1988, and on the first step that I took into the college, and the first step that Rajat took into the college is when we met each other. So in effect, the first person I met in Pusa and the first person that Rajat met in Pusa is each other. And that bond of friendship has continued and flourished over 30 years. And it is such a pleasure when he agreed to moderate this very, very important discussion, especially in the times when we are very unsure of what future beholds for us, the kind of uncertainty that we see in the world today, and especially in our business and in the industry. We have a good mix of regions, geographical regions. We have a good mix of industries. We have a good mix of people who have gone abroad and been successful, and we have a mix of people who have started in India and then gone abroad with their respective companies. So in terms of the wisdom that we will get today is significant, and I deeply appreciate all our alumni to have spared the time to come on a call. And I know that Daman is at 9 p.m. in the night, and Rajat is at 6 a.m. in the morning, and the rest of the team is somewhere in the middle. So without much ado, I would welcome Rajat. Thank you very much, my friend, for doing this for PIMA and for our alma mater. And over to you to conduct the session for today and to introduce our panelists.
Thank you, Arindam. This is indeed a big moment and a deep, sense of belonging that, one comes forward to take on this opportunity. We have some wonderful friends and distinguished alumni, as you've mentioned. And I would take this moment to introduce, starting with Chef Daman Shrivastav. Daman Shrivastav is our super senior, as they used to say it in Pusa. I mean, I have not had the pleasure of meeting him in person or having been around him, but just reading what he has done. He's a chef extraordinaire who wanted to do hotel management course because of a dinner jacket and a bow tie. He wanted to see himself in a dinner jacket and a bow tie. That was his aspiration. This, we are talking about the early 1980s. He graduated in 1983. And from then on, he is mapped through 3 continents, a war zone. He was in Kuwait in a war zone. He survived homelessness. He's an educator now. And now he's given birth to cooking shows in Australia during a global pandemic, along with his daughter. He lives in Melbourne, and we are really delighted to have somebody who has seen the likes of, distinguished alumni likes, and, Puneet Chatwal and the others. So he's from that time, that era, the golden age when, tailoring was kind of starting off in our part of the world and then kind of getting its roots. The next person is a very dear friend of mine. He was my senior when I joined college, and as luck would have it, he did his 4th year. So in a sense, when I graduated from hotel management from IHM, He became a peer, a friend, a member of the executive training team at ITC Welcome Group. This is Sanjay Shende. I know him as a survivor. I've known him for his openness to new ideas, him being a risk taker. He's the quintessential Indian like me. He can speak 4 or 5 languages like me. Sometimes he's a Marathi Manus, sometimes he's a Bengali Bhadrolok. That is sometimes doubtful, but I'd still give it to him. He's a Punjabi Puttar, but he's also a Ghaziabadi Jat. And he can switch between languages very easily. He has varied interests, and he's also interested in cooking, or was when he was a chef. His foray into kitchen started not only at the QFK, BTK, etc., but also at Amma's Dhaba. And he's moved in life. He has moved from hoteliering to running his own businesses, including restaurants in Ireland, and now is a data scientist. So, guys, this is an amazing development, and this is an amazing journey of an individual such as myself, who started off in the hotel industry. We started off together our professional journey, and is now in a very, very different industry and forum altogether. With that, I'll move to another friend of mine, Anil Pathak. Anil was a year senior to me. Anil is an avid golfer. Anil and I come from Chennai. That's where we kind of grew up in our early childhood. Anil's exposure to the hotel industry happened through the family travels that he had done, and that sparked an early personal connection to luxury and the hospitality industry. Anil has a very good understanding of the intricacies of creating a luxury experience. He also has taken deep interest in researching specific trends in the luxury market. His upbringing and career experiences have developed in him a curiosity, and he comes across as informed and being cultured. Again, we can debate that point, but we can take it one-on-one between Anil and I when we get to it. He's very articulate, extremely friendly, and a refined personality and a presence in the luxury hotel industry, as I call it. Much to learn from him. Hands-on experience, extroverted personality. Anil enjoys tough challenges. He's extremely ambitious, and he can be regarded as the benchmark of the future. I say this with deep confidence because, like I said, Anil was my immediate senior in college. And he was a hustler. You've seen him in action, his blue Yamaha motorbike. All of those things add to that aura around Anil Pathak from the days that I remember him from. But let me go to the next gentleman now, my namesake, Rajat, but this time a Chatterjee. The Kapoor morphs into a Chatterjee. Rajat Chatterjee, what to talk about him? He was always as we call it, the gentleman who was well prepared for the hotel industry. He graduated from IHM Pusa and went in as a management trainee to OCLD, or the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. Great kind of success right there, graduated with honors over there, got posted into prime properties like TOK, as they used to call it, the Oberoi Grand Kolkata, TOGK, and then TOND, the Oberoi New Delhi. He's done amazingly well over there. Rajat kind of, moved around and then decided to join the Marriott, or the chain that now is Marriott, which includes Starwood Properties as well. And today he's the general manager of a property in Chiang Mai, Le Méridien, but his experiences across the Oberoi chain, across Marriott's, and now into the expanded Marriott connection is outstanding for us to learn from. How has he progressed through these stages of his career is something that we will be probing him on, and we hope to learn a lot from him. The next person is a junior of mine. I saw him walk into the institute, saw him come in as a fresher, and those of you who are hoteliers, hostlers, will probably remember how freshers were warmly welcomed when they came in. We were all looking for our batmen. We needed them. Those were our glory days. Suneet has spent a lot of time acting all of those roles out. So Suneet Kumar is a hotelier by heart. Suneet is a revenue management professional. He's based in Singapore with Pan Pacific Hotels Group. He's responsible for driving top-line revenue performances and strengthening the distribution landscape and managing key business partnerships. There's something unique about Suneet that I'd like this entire set of people who are on this call to know. Everybody looked for getting out of college with a job in their hand. Some went out as management trainees, 3 or 4 of us on this call. Some went out as executives in front office. Some went to F&P. Some went directly into kitchens. Suneet did not get out of college with a job in his hand. Suneet did not get out really having that confidence that he has something to fall back on. He carved his career out thereafter. that is a story to learn from. That's a story which is very relevant for today. How do you take it from here? How do you come out of college with nothing in your pocket, but build a career which is as impressive as is? So folks, really delighted that we have some amazing people with a lot of knowledge, and let's get started with the formal stuff. So let me put this question across to all of you. We are all from Pusa. So let me start with Rajat Chatterjee because I see him on the panel right up front. Rajat, tell me a bit about your time at Pusa and your fondest memory of IHM Pusa. And let me give you 2 minutes to kind of expound on that thought of yours.
Look, I'll be honest with you. When I finished my school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but then I gave the examination for the hotel school and I got selected for Pusa. I did not know what to expect because, when you're doing science in +2, you're not very sure what a catering college is going to behold. But nonetheless, first experience was cooking was quite a challenge. I'm not as gifted as some of the chefs on the call. So I still remember one Mr. Bhandari who used to teach us bakery and, about the cut and fold technique of folding dough and all the rest of it. Those were new, alien. That was completely alien for me. But nonetheless, we went through those 3 years. I think the best part about Pusa was making the connections and the people like Anil and I are batchmates from Pusa and Rajat. Like we were talking the other day, when you were walking in one batch later, it was always fun to kind of get you guys to talk to us and introduce yourselves to us, So Pusa was a great opportunity to make some phenomenal connections which have lasted a lifetime. I still have a lot of friends that I kind of keep in touch with. And lastly, in the third year, Anil, you will remember this, we organized Inter Catering Colleges Meet, the Intercat. 1990, where we had almost, those days we only used to have 13 catering colleges. Now I don't know what that number is, but
107 for all we could know right now.
I can imagine. So yeah, organizing that sporting meet in Pusa, where we had 13 catering colleges coming over, staying with us. We had emptied out some rooms and classes where we shacked up students. And we had a great time organizing this event. So I was part of the sports committee organizing these events and playing a lot of sports as well. So yeah, all in all, I guess the entire experience of meeting some phenomenal people, varied and completely diversified learnings, which one does not kind of expect to learn when you're in school, and then getting to organize this Inter Catering Colleges Meet in 1990. So all in all, a phenomenal experience.
Outstanding, Rajat. And I remember you were like Arindam and I met on the first day before college started. You were the first gentleman that I met when I walked into the, the corridors. The first guy who gave me my good name, as we call it, for those of who remember Pusa, the good name that you'd given, I cannot share on this call.
I can understand
years
that.
From the passing, but let's transition with the same very question to good friend Sanjay Shende. Sanjay, 2 minutes to you. Tell us about your fondest memories from Pusa.
I mean, it would be impossible to encapsulate the fondest memories into one nugget, but there are so many of them, especially when you become the part of the hostel as well. Then all the carry-on that goes on in the hostel after college hours, that is the time when the actual action happens. But I have kind of memories of some euphoric moments from college, not once but twice, having cleared 2 of the leading recruiters through campus. Once the Oberois, after finishing my 3rd year from the normal diploma course. Then after some time I met with an accident and rejoined college for a PG. And this time I didn't really expect to crack any major campus selection, but I was fortunate to get into ITC with Rajat. That was a great moment. Our team coming back triumphant from the All India Student Chefs competition in Bangalore, and the reception we had, and not to mention the bhang and masti of Holi, writing things like graffiti, fishman and all that on people, and the crazy dances in the
I don't know you, Sanjay Shende. What are you talking about? I don't really know what you're talking about.
This is all part of the spectrum and the package that makes up Pusa. So there's, I mean, we can all pick and choose. Even things like as mundane as, the farewell parties for which the dining room used to be decked up, and even asking for away sip de de yaar chai ka, 50 paisa chai used to be shared between at least 20 people, sip by sip. And a bonda used to be snatched away. Bonda in the canteen. I mean, it's all part of the canvas that makes a Pusa. So, it comes with the good and the funny dominates somehow.
Yeah, very true, Sanjay. That is amazing. Yes, amazing memories. And of course, you and I went through another 2 years at ITC and our trips to Jaipur and setting up Rajputana. There's so much that we got
True,
even beyond
true,
Pusa that happened. So
true, true,
amazing
true,
time with you, my friend.
true,
Let
true.
me transition to Chef Daman. Daman Shrivastav is an icon. We have not seen him in action because the rest of us kind of grew up with each other and sort. But Chef Daman, tell us something about your time in Pusa. That is the early 80s. How was it and how different was it?
Yeah, 1981, straight out of the school in white shirt and khaki pant. Year 12, as Rajat rightly said, that hotel industry was just, bow tie, dinner jacket. And I came out from Sarkari school, the government school, where the English wasn't my first language. Ended up in Pusa, and where it was just like a shock for me, just in VTK in his kitchen. I say, what is this? It's nothing like what I thought of. And then I had a lovely teachers. I still remember Mrs. Krishna Arora, if you must be knowing, she was in Melbourne as well. She was in that time. I still can't forget Mr. Tully, whom I couldn't understand anything when he used to lecture me. My fondest memories, we had a trip to Budkal Lake with the whole bus full of us. We went, and ultimately we made so much of hurdang that bus has to stop somewhere in Panipat, and it was really fun. And other thing, obviously, next to Polytechnic students, when we used to go, all our hotel management students, and they used to say, "Oh, haldi lagi hui hai, forget it." And they used to tease us so much, like we all bawarchis, going there, looking down that time. Obviously, on 80s. Hotel management was not, it was just like you being a bawarchi. Ultimately, I become a bawarchi after all, but it was amazing. The teachers were so supportive that time. I really have a good memory. I've been, I still remember Muhammad Shahid was there. I still remember that he was the dada of the college that time. I think he's in Lucknow now. I traveled the world. I studied overseas, but the memories I have in Pusa is unbelievable.
Thank you, Chef. This is amazing. 80s to late 80s to actually now the next guy whom I'm going to call on, who graduated in 1992 after me. He came in as that decade was turning. So, Suneet, why don't you tell us about your fondest memories in a couple of minutes, and then I want to go save the best for the last, which is Anil Pathak. Yeah.
I mean, I say this, and I say this to many of our batchmates. Pusa was, 24/7 TV is recent, but Pusa was a movie nonstop for 3 years for me. Coming from the city that I come from, the education, the family background, it was just nonstop movie. I mean, as you turn after crossing the National Council, as you turn right towards the boys' hostel, there used to be a cemented bench so that people can pay fees into the counter because the window was quite high. Yeah. So I used to be sitting there, and this was this non-stop CinemaScope full screen movie in front of you, non-stop for 3 years. From many of the jokes that Shinde has shared and many more that I cannot share on this platform, to the tragedies, course mates passing away, people, very fond members of the team. But the best part of Pusa, and I will be brief, I think it was a campus which was complete. The faculty living there, given the size of the campus, the boys' hostel, the girls' hostel, and the institute itself. So it was a 24/7 life. It was, and I recently said to somebody, I said, hotel management gave me a lifestyle. It is not just an education like in the engineering qualification or something. Hospitality, hoteliering is a lifestyle. So that is what I got out of Pusa. And my takeaways is a mixture, like what Rajat said. It is the connections, the networking, it is the whole ecosystem that was around you. There was no barriers between after a certain period of 1.5 months, whatever that was called at that time, is not preferred to be named now. There was no barrier. Who is first year, who is second year, who is PG diploma, and that continues till date. We are all here in an international global conference call, talking to each other. On a flip of a coin, when Arindam came and said, "Do we want to sit together and talk for an hour?" We did. So to me, Pusa was taking away that ecosystem and that movie, which still continues. And just to complete Chef Daman, what he was saying about ITI, and I think by the time we guys came, we were seen with envy. And a very old TV ad by Onida comes to mind, it's never envy, owner's pride. So that's what we were in Pusa, in that whole complex. Because everybody was jealous of what we were able to do.
Yeah, we had the better looking people, we had the smarter looking folks. I agree
and
with you.
And the only campus with girls.
That's true.
There you go. I know where your focus was, Shende. But yes, thank you, Suneet.
That's what my memories and living memories till date.
Yep, thank you. And if we make a movie, Chichore would be made by us better than Nitish Tiwari. I promise you, and that's a movie I will make, and we all will be a part of it. But with that, we saved up the best from Anil Pathak, an avid golfer. That's why I saved him for the last. He's a golfer like me. I don't know how much hoteliering he did in Ooty, but I believe he was playing more golf than he was running a hotel. So with that, Anil, please come and share the real stuff with us, man.
Hey, thanks, Rajat. So, yes, of course, and Rajat, you definitely would relate to this. We both came from a place called Chennai, at that time Madras. And to us, getting into Pusa at the first instance was a big culture shock, right? From quite a protected environment to coming into one which was free for all was something which was a big learning to us, especially during year one. But I think when you look back and you want to see what was your best moment, I think we all worked in sync. We were all together. We were brothers in crime together. And some of the experiences that we took out of there, I mean, we follow that even to today. So it prepared us for life. We might have got ourselves educated, but the other skills that we definitely learned were experiences that we remember today. And we take it across in every point of life. There's nothing that phases us out. There's nothing that is impossible for us. We have jumped walls. We have run out of hostel at 3 a.m. in the morning. All that tells us nothing is impossible and nothing is not achievable. And I think that's what we took out. Other experiences were, of course, the hostel life, room number 152, which was absolutely, something to be looked at when people actually moved into that hostel. Some of the hostel experiences, the friendships that we made together, and some of the crimes that we got away from, our memories that we take together, and the bonds that we live. So in all, it changed my life. In all, it gave me much better and a higher level of confidence to, take on the world. And that's the spirit that we left that college for. So that would never shy away from our memories. Yep. Over to you.
Outstanding. Thank you, Anil. And listen, folks, in the interest of time, I want to get into some rapid fire rounds now. If you're able to, respond to me in a minute or less, I want to make sure these very important questions get answered by all of you, for those who are listening in and those who are going to be listening to this recording at a later stage. I want you guys to, and starting with you, Anil, tell me what is that one key skill or attribute or attributes that have helped you reach the level of accomplishment that you have achieved today and that what you command today? What has made you this regional general manager? Coming out of Pusa, we were equals. Well, some of us knew F&B a little better, some knew front office a little better, and some could speak a little better, like, a couple of us here on this call. But what is that additional skill and attribute that has helped you get to this level that you are in today?
See, Rajat, the main thing, and this word is so very commonly used, but I think it's very useful in life, and that was determination. look, we face a lot of setbacks, and some take it differently while some play with it. When I say play with it is how do we make it a part of, how do we get the better out of it? And I think with all the pushbacks that we have had in life, I mean, I had a boss. So to explain myself, I had a boss who would always say, look, we as Asians have to do 200% more than the rest. And I think that comes from the determination that we are willing to sit through with. Nothing with it probably would have been possible to reach where it is. Knowledge, skills, um, your connectivity, all that, yes, does play an important part. But you need to understand. You need to be clearly focused, determined, and passionate in whatever you do. Don't lose hope. Don't lose your direction. Stay the course, and you'll get where you want to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me pivot this question differently to Rajat Chatterjee. Rajat, as we all know, or at least I know, you won the MS Oberoi Management Trainee of the Batch Award. Was that something that helped you, or was it something that you acquired after that? What really kind of pivoted and propelled you into this amazing career that you've had? You've continued with hotels. Some of us has moved on. My story is a little different. Sanjay's is a little different. But what propelled you to where you are today?
Look, awards and recognition is part and parcel of what, it comes with time and comes with effort. But I think for me, I love doing what I do. I enjoy hotels. So it became part of life, and Pusa helped us, like Anil mentioned earlier, it helped us create this career and give us this focus. For me, I think it's that hunger to continue to learn, hunger to pursue excellence and even persevere when things are not going your way. And I think it was, Anil mentioned determination. I've mentioned tenacity in adversity. There have been times when it's been difficult, but you've got to keep going,
Yeah.
and our chairman says this from Marriott, and I believe it, which is success is never final. So, even though I've been about 30 years in the industry, like most of you, you don't stop learning, you don't stop growing, you don't stop developing yourself. And every day is a new challenge, and you keep pushing yourself to do better. And I think that is what has pushed me towards where I have reached today. Yes, it was an accolade to get the MS Oberoi gold medal, but I think that was part and parcel of that time. Now is different, and it's kind of now with this COVID-19, things are different again. We are learning all over again new ways of managing business. So here you are. Success is never.
So
final.
You'll be delighted to know I'm one of your Bonvoy executive
Members?
platinum guys, and I'm actually in one of your hotels. If you see, this is one of your hotels. This is
Which
the
one
Town
is?
Place Suite Hotel. This is the Town Place Suite in the US. I'm in
Okay.
Atlanta to pick up my son, from his internship, and so I'm staying at one of your hotels. The Marriott Collection. This is
See,
I've been
Anil's
a
not going
Marriott
to be
guy for a
happy.
while.
Anil's not going to be happy. You're not staying at IHG, but keep getting the points, mate, and that's what counts.
We'll talk about the points and all the recognition that comes in as a result later on in this if we have the time. But let me pivot to Daman Shrivastav. Daman, what really drove you? I mean, you rightly said, Bawarchis. When I was joining hotel management, in fact, people in my family said, "Karne kya ja raha hai?" I was going to be an engineer. By the way, I had gotten into Roorkee, and I had a tough choice. I gave up Roorkee to move into hotel management, and then there was a big fight at home, literally with my mother. She ran with a pair of scissors after me to literally dismember me because I chose to give up. And Arindam knows my parents pretty well. My dad is no more, but he knows. My dad was the coolest guy. He said, "Listen, if you know what you're doing, go do it." But my mother, on the other hand, wanted a pair of scissors to go right through my stomach. So that was the reality of the time when we came from. So Daman, how was yours? I mean, you walked up to your dad and mom and you said, "I'm going to do hotel management," and you said, "I'll prove it to you that I'll be the super chef." What got you to the super chef level? I mean, you have the likes of Sanjay Kapoor and the others.
No, I had no idea. I just wanted to be, I was just obsessed with the glamour of five-star hotels. Once I got in, and my dad said, in our family, nobody went to the hotel industries, and you are joining it. Make sure you do well, reach to the highest point you can, whatever you choose. And at that time, I was just like a naive dreamer, and that dream made me ambitious. And when I start to become ambitious, I start to look at it, okay, this is culinary world. what is the best practice in the world? What are the best colleges? Who are the most successful people? Who are the great chefs in the world? And then I start looking at those success stories and how I can follow. So what I give a message to all the who are listening. See, if you want to be an executive chef, corporate chef, or master chefs, or celebrity chef, one thing you must know, you should know how to cook. The basic thing is hands-on positions, and it started with me as a yes chef when I was a positive can-do attitude, yes chef. And I reached to the situation when people are telling me yes chef. So it starts with the yes chef and finishes with the yes chef.
Oh,
So
beautiful, beautiful.
That's
Beautiful.
the attitude you have to have. I think it's not only culinary art, which I got to know later on. It's not only art, it's a science as well. So when I further studied, when I went to UK and studied more, what is happened, I never planned. So it's happened along the way. So I did Pusa. The best thing I did, and I give a message to everyone who, again, basics, get the basics right. And then I don't want to say what you have to do. I'm just giving an example what I did. So and then you have to pick up from me. It might not be appropriate for you, but this is what worked for me. And what worked for me, I'll tell you very clearly. I had a vision. I created. I worked for it. I was not a ship without rudder. So I had my goal. So once I got out of college, I did 2 years of practical training. I worked as a Commie 3, Commie 2, Commie 1. So I really got a good hands-on. My dad, he opened an account in a Canara Bank in Taj Hotel. So all the money I earned in Oberoi, Baghdad, all the money was saved. I come from the very middle-class government servant family, and my father was, so we are not rich. As my father said, you do well, and we don't want any of your money. So I saved all money. I was looking at Lausanne. I was looking at Salzburg, all the best hotel school I was doing it. And ultimately I got the admission in Westminster College in London. This is where after 2 years of hands-on practice in every section, every department, I learned the skills. I learned the language. I studied Arabic language. I asked my executive chef, give me the graveyard shift. I want to learn French. I can't understand this culinary terms so much. So I bought a bicycle and I went to Centre Culturel Français. I learned the language. So I got into it. And then I went for further studies. And then I got all the background of Western cuisine and working in the Nouvelle cuisine.
Awesome. That's amazing.
All those things. So this came up, and one thing I had willingness to learn. So I was ambitious. I wanted to reach the top of it. And other thing I did, I never stopped learning. So I continued to study while working. And I'm still studying. I'm doing my PhD now. So you can see from a cook, you can reach to any level where you have willingness to learn. So this
fantastic. So with that, let me do one thing, Chef Daman. Just in the interest of time, I want to kind of switch over to the others for a few other questions as well. But your point's well taken that learning never stops. Keep pursuing it and keep enhancing your capabilities and skills, and stay focused on it. Let me pivot this question to my other two friends. Starting with Suneet, and then we'll go to Sanjay Shende. Suneet, this is an interesting one for you. What would you recommend that people who are currently in the institute or students do to prepare for a career abroad? And how can they get noticeable recognition within their current situation to find an international exposure? Now, the reason I ask you this question is you did not come out, and I'm saying it with a very, very specific motive behind it. You didn't come out with a job in your hand when you left the institute. Many of our friends are facing the same kind of challenges today with COVID. What drove you, and how did you come out, and what did you do to get noticeable and to make it to where you are today in the international experience?
Thanks, Rajat. I think like most of us and many of us have similar, if not the same journey. Going back and giving you up was not an option. So we have an education. We were part of IHM Pusa, which at that time and currently is the best hotel institute in India. So the only confidence I had was I can't be a failure and I have to have something better. There were some mentors that came along. Nowadays, it is a very established line of work in India. I actually started working with a consultant who used to build these big banquet halls, in Delhi, these 3 floors high banquet halls, all the way from, Azadpur, Sabzi Mandi to the South Delhi, you can find in Okhla. And with them, I learned kitchen planning, kitchen designing, menu designing. I had some bias towards kitchen when I was graduating out of Pusa, so that was the natural liking. But at that time, you learn everything by a very big detail. Going to Lal Kuwa, finding kitchen utensils, going to Sadar Bazaar, finding a vendor for something, running in the middle of the night when the chicken ran out of the kitchen and the party is still going and sourcing the suppliers. And at that time, somebody endorsed that, failure is not an option. And if you don't do the job, somebody will do it for you. So there will be somebody who's going to do that. So that kind of gave that energy. And then, many other mentors, some of them fellow students came along and opened the path to say, you can relaunch yourself. And many years later,
Great journey.
You can relaunch yourself. So, and I learned this in a formal, it was part of Hublot, the watch company. His founder said, whenever he was confused, he went back to education. So I took that. Coming from my father being a teacher, an education family, I took to education, went overseas, spent 2 years advancing, because at that time it was diploma. We all wanted to have a degree in our portfolio, and found out that they have an internship program in the final year. And through that, I relaunched myself into China. To me, it is don't give up, find a way who will take you to the next stop, and let people know where you want to go.
Outstanding story.
If I did not tell people where I want to be, I won't be where I am. Because I joined a totally new stream of industry which did not exist as a career when we all graduated. Revenue management as a department did not exist in hotel companies. Yes, Rajat is here. Marriott is a pioneer in this discipline in our industry. Started in late 90s, in early 2000, and then that was my gateway into my stream. But did they teach revenue management in the hotel school? No. Today they do. So I reached there because I continuously told people what interests me as my next challenge.
Yeah, thank you, Suneet. Sanjay, let me pivot this question differently to you. You came out as a chef. You came out blazing through the door. You could carve vegetables. You could cook up some amazing dishes. You could do all those kind of things. Helped us win the chef competition in Bangalore. But then now data scientist. What's that journey like? How did that happen? And are you a legit data? Let's have that conversation right now. Come on, Sanjay.
Well, I mean, to start with, I kind of drifted into hotel management for a start. And having been there and looking at all you tall, good-looking hunks, I said, "Tu 5 foot, 5.5 foot ka banda kya karega inke samne?" So there was a bit of a SWOT analysis at the time. I said I could probably do the best by hiding myself in the kitchen. So I focused on it, honed my skills in the kitchen. But an amazing transformation happened when I was kind of shortlisted to represent the college for the chef competition. Chef Manjit Singh Gill, as well as Chef Pradhan, who is one of our cooking teachers, they inspired me by saying ki tu Pusa ka hai, haar nahi sakta. And till date, with every setback in my life, those words ring in my ears. So life has been full of ups and downs. It's been always about constant recalibration. At one stage, I did a bachelor's degree in human resource, in which psychometry was one of the subjects. And incidentally, I found that in a random test, it appears that I am kind of 2 standard deviations away on extroversion and conscientiousness. So I said I was probably always cut out for the front office, but didn't have the confidence because of my physique. And not that I mean to, chefing was a choice for a start, but the circumstances of life brought me to a stage where I had to make a personal choice to kind of restructure my company, then eventually wind up and hand it over in some kind of a family matters which can't be discussed here. And there I was again, ready to start life from scratch, armed with a degree in HR, and being told by people that I am amazing with computers and numbers. So I said, here, you're an HR guy. You should have a sense of what is upcoming in the future. Data analytics, cybersecurity, and cloud computing. These were the kind of being touted as the sexiest careers to be in. And I went for it. Data analytics. I then came out with 2 kind of first class honors qualifications, level 9. The only next stage is a doctorate at this stage. But here I am, a data scientist. And now I find that I enjoy cooking even more than when it was a profession.
Yes, I know that. Your recipes keep coming to us on our other forums.
You've seen them in the WhatsApp groups. I'm kind of cooking and doing more cooking at home, even though the kitchens are unwieldy. And I keep saying that I'm used to a patila no smaller than that size. But there we go now. I mean, when you're not cooking for a living, then you start enjoying it even more.
Yep. So guys, with that, I want to pivot to some very key things that are going to help our folks who are listening to this, who are students right now, who want to kind of, talk about how to make a career abroad. The one quick thing that, everybody thinks is, let me go and do a job outside. Let me go ahead and get, a job outside of the country because there's more opportunity. So let me, ask Anil Pathak here. Anil, you made it out from India through Quality Inns and thereafter into ISG. Tell us, what is the route? Is it academics? Can you do it even while working? Is it a combination? What's your way of helping these students figure out what their next steps are to be?
See, Rajat, I think the most important thing here is don't let go of opportunity, right? However small they may be. And that's what I've sort of always aimed at when I was starting my career. No opportunity cannot really take you to the journey that you envisage for yourself. That's one thing. But more importantly, you've always got to think, what is it that you can do that someone else cannot? Okay. And going by that philosophy, when there were opportunities to move out, I chose those opportunities which were the most difficult or the most not wanted opportunities out of India. Right? So I made my pathway. But at the same time, one would think, hey, listen, there is a job available with my country, available with my company in a country probably where I don't want to go because it's a small hotel or it's a country which does not give you that kind of a social status. So let me wait when the right opportunity probably comes up for Singapore. Now, if you're going to keep your vision tainted to only the best and not the opportunities which are available now, which can lead to your ultimate goal, it's going to be difficult. Do things which others cannot. Make yourself useful by being the few who can actually manage that. And just to give you an example, when I made my first multi-unit role in Indonesia, there were very few who wanted to go to Indonesia, more so because of the social life available in a place like Jakarta at that point of time. But I chose it over the others, and that really pushed my career. I came out of stagnation to a level where I was recognized for changing things in a very different and difficult environment. So choose those opportunities rightly. Don't let go of opportunities thinking they're too small for you, and that would be the end of your career.
This is where I could probably, kind of corroborate with you, because I've changed from hotels, having started off with ITC, then Taj, and PepsiCo, etc., and then now with a bank. I work for a bank, JP Morgan, and I do transformation, etc. I think what you rightly said is, don't shut yourself away from the difficult things to do. Keep your eyes open for what new is out there, because you might have to make lane changes or career path changes depending on what is your aptitude and your attitude and what is available. Can you shift gears and can you shift lanes? Because it's not always going to be, you don't always have to look at a vertical, alignment and a vertical growth. They can sometimes be path shifts that can take you to where you need to get to. So with that thought in mind, why don't I invite, Suneet, tell us about your story of kind of, going from, as you said, the banquet side of it. What can you tell our students? What should be their way to kind of, come out of this crisis, find the opportunities, education, or some other way to get to where you are?
I think, and I picked what Anil said is very right. Don't let any opportunity go, right? When we come out of campus, we are going through a crisis. Winston Churchill says, let's not waste a good crisis, right? So let's not waste this crisis. So many, many different things will come out of this crisis. We in the hotel industry today are looking at how we do the business in a very different way at the starting of so my only advice is don't give out an opportunity, be ready to recalibrate, because all of us have, look at your example, Rajat, you have changed from hotel industry to Pepsi's to, now in banks, right? So don't give up and don't say no to any opportunity, because if you say no, they will find somebody else to do that job. And maybe that was the stepping stone. The other theory that I use is career is a ladder. If you miss a step, you will have to come back and do it again sometime.
Very true.
So just go in a very step-by-step and organized manner to go up. And the third one is, put your hand on the heart and say, what of hospitality excites you? And that was a question I faced in one of my job interviews. So is it, putting a smile on 200 people when they're checking in and checking out? Is it, cooking the best food? Is it interacting while cooking to the guests outside in the restaurant? What is it that excites you in the hospitality industry? Don't be blinded by what Anil was saying. Housekeeping is not good. Front office is good. Front office is not good. Sales is good. I went to China. My first exposure in 1996 to hotel industry was Beijing. I could not speak the language. I did not understand anything that was happening around me. But then you create your ecosystem to survive. So don't say no.
Yep.
Don't give up an opportunity. Be ready to change, because if you say yes to one opportunity, that will open the door to the next one.
Very true. Guys, now I want to kind of give us less than a minute each, rapid fire round, starting with Chef Daman. How can you ensure that people who are in the institute right now who want to kind of go abroad at any cost don't kind of fall into the wrong trap? Because you see, sometimes you make compromises in taking on roles which could be lesser than what you anticipate. Sometimes these could be roles which are, you could say, a lower end of the spectrum. So how do you guide people so that they make the right choices in their journey to come abroad and work abroad, whether in the hotel industry or otherwise? Quick one-line answer.
Yes, Rajat, first, they have to do the homework. So what is important if they're coming for the training or work, to make sure they're ending on the right place. So the homework is making sure the ranking of the institute, if they are coming to the institute, the work, if there's a work permit, what is the situation there? If they are taking a risk, I agree, taking a risk, take the opportunity, but it has to be calculated risk. Otherwise, they will fall into it. They have to be prepared. They have to study the history and geography of the country. They have to know their value system. They have to know their transport system. They have to do each and everything. Their climate, their political and social system is there. All has to be studied. And again, they have to ask themselves, do they love that job they are taking it? That's the important part, because passion will be the one which will drive them. If they fall into it, they have to be ready to come down and start from the scratch sometime. And that is normal in overseas, making sure they have enough hands-on training, whether in whatever level they are. They have to know the job.
Yep. The same question, I pivot over Sanjay Shende quickly enough. You worked in the kitchens, you worked in the lowest rung, started off during our training days, and then kind of making it up to sous chef level. How do you ensure that, and you went and set up your own restaurants as well, how do you ensure that people don't fall into the wrong trap and they kind of, make it to the right levels that they need to get to and think through it properly? Quick, minute advice.
I think I won't add much to what Chef Daman has said. I was listening to his words very carefully. And he has said each and everything that almost I would have said in this regard. There's no magic bullet. There's no replacement to thorough investigation and preparation and groundwork. And finally, life is a big leveler. I still consider that despite whatever you do, Kismat, fate is something that is a huge leveler. It could take people in different directions with the same skill set. Two people with different fates could end up differently. The best that you can do is do your best. I mean, as Chef Daman rightly put, do thorough research, research the country that you're going to, know why you're going there. If you are going to end up in a country, do you want to take the risk of ending up in a seismic zone? I, for one, would never consider moving to California, for example. Like, that's my phobia of earthquakes, you may call. But you have to know what you're in for, and then it's a mixture of your risk-taking ability and Kismat, fate.
Right. So let me do one thing here. Arindam, I want to check with you. This conversation is going deep and it's going intense. Do you think we have the ability to carry on a little bit more so that we can also get some participation questions going as well? Shall we, or do you want to make sure, because we're coming almost at the end of time?
We have another 10 more minutes. We have another 10 more minutes and we could take a questions after that.
Yeah, perfect. So after that, we'll open it up to audience questions. So let me pivot at this point in time to Rajat Chatterjee. Rajat, what is your opinion and what do you consider are the main areas of difference in work culture between, having worked in India and where you are working now? And what is the performance expectations that kind of is different between having worked in India and having the exposure that you're getting now? Talk to us about that.
Look, quite frankly, performance expectations remain the same. We all have to perform up to a certain standard. So performance expectations don't change if we change countries. But the biggest challenge of changing countries and adapting to this change of working in different environments is understanding the culture. Like, I'll give you an example from India. My first assignment was in Dubai, where in my hotel, I had 33 nationalities. So each nationality has a different cultural upbringing and a different cultural expectation. And we have to manage different expectations from different sets of stakeholders. So trying to get to understand everybody's culture and then adapting to it and trying to encourage them to perform, that was something very interesting. It opened my eyes to doing business a different way, because in India, we are pretty driven anyways. We have that passion. We are pushed to continue to develop ourselves and perform. So that was something that was a learning, phenomenal learning in Dubai. Moving to Thailand, this is again culturally and from a language perspective, a completely different experience, because I was used to working in India where if I speak in English, everybody understands you. Or even in Dubai, you speak in English, everybody understands you. In Thailand, 75% of the people are not going to understand you that well. So every time you're standing in a town hall or talking to associates, we are having a translator translate what you're saying. And obviously, you don't, like we are talking now, we are all talking, we are speaking in English and we have a flow of conversation. But in Thailand, sometimes you don't have the flow. So even if you go sales calling, you need to take someone who can translate for you. You're talking to suppliers and customers, you need somebody to translate for you. So those are the challenges that you kind of work with. But once you start to understand the culture, you pick up nuances, you pick up languages, you pick up the skill set to manage. And that's why one of the key skill set for anybody who wants to transition from India and go to another country is obviously this adaptability to change. And I think you have to be open to change. And you have to, if you are very rigid in your food habits, in your cultural habits, like I'll tell you, in Chiang Mai, there is not even a single Hindu temple, for example. So if you're extremely rigid, you're not going to survive once you're outside the country. You have to be flexible, you have to be adaptable, and you have to be open to learning new cultures. Like when I go to the canteen to eat with the staff, you're not getting Indian food, you have to eat Thai food. And if you're not able to do that, then you're not going to mix with the people, you're not going to, right. It just starts to create boundaries. And our jobs as hoteliers is to diminish boundaries, not create boundaries. And
Very
So
true.
I
Very
guess
true.
adapting to change and understanding different cultures and nuances helps a lot. And that
Yep.
is a huge focus for anybody wanting to shift out of the country.
So folks, with the fact that we have 3 more minutes, I'm going to pose this question quickly, first with Anil Pathak. But Anil, succinctly, quickly tell me, what are some of the roles or assignments that our pass-out students can aim for abroad in the hotel industry? Because you have a good view of what's out there. What do you think our friends who are kind of, sitting, awaiting their next career moves or starting their careers can look for as roles internationally? Let's start with you, then I'll go to Rajat, and thereafter, to Suneet, because you are all kind of focused on the general management side of operations. Starting with you, Anil.
So Rajat, quickly, and aware that the time is short. I mean, we've got one of them among us, which is Suneet. Great example. Indians are rarely looked at for heading revenue management. One of the easiest lines which can drive you towards getting your first posting out of the country. But I think the newer line which is coming across now, and something new for the industry per se, is of course the strategy part. I mean, hotels have been taking in the newest roles which emerge across best practices in industry. We never had the strategy role. We've had sales and marketing and the rest of it. Strategy is slowly coming to big play, and I think we have traditionally done well within ourselves as a country and as Indians to look at it. So I would put my bet on people looking at strategy, revenue management, great stepping stone to move out of the country. Thanks.
Fantastic. Yep, Rajat Chatterjee, same question, your views?
Revenue management, obviously Indians are very good with mathematics and numbers. So revenue management, finance, and obviously chefs. We've had a lot of chefs who transition out of India and doing really well for themselves. But from an operations perspective, and it's revenue management and finance, which really we have so many Indians in revenue management and finance right now.
Yep. Suneet, to you, the same question.
Yeah, I mean, apart from what Anil and Rajat have said, I think we underestimate what Indians can do in marketing. Digital marketing is something that we understand a lot. Number two is technology comes to us rather naturally than some of the other geographies that can be. And there are streams of hospitality today, revenue management, distribution being one, right? How the whole technology of distribution, digital marketing works. So if you have keenness, and there's much more marketing that happens in India and bigger geographies, don't close on that. So, I mean, while all the operational jobs are still there, the frontline, the legacy jobs. So digital marketing and wherever the technology takes you.
Perfect.
So Rajat, before you finish off on this question, just want to add a piece of, and which is, I've seen great chefs who've become great general managers. I've seen awesome revenue managers who've become some great general managers, and so do finance guys. So this is just a stepping stone. So if someone says, I like revenue manager, but it'll not take me to the route of being a GM one day, I think that's reading it all wrong. It's a great step. Because the commercial part of the business is really key in far as learning GM is concerned. Go on, Shinde.
Yeah, just a quick thing, just solely for the chefs. This I will restrict to only for people looking for a career abroad in chefing. Bear in mind that one of your easiest passports abroad would be the strength of being an Indian chef, because work permits will not be so easily dispensed. If you want to apply as a patisserie chef, even though you might be good at patisserie, your passport abroad as a chef would essentially be, because of the skill shortages, if you are granted a work permit abroad, your specialization would have to be Indian chef. That said, bear in mind that once you come abroad, Indian cooking you will know naturally anyway, but all the other skills that you will bring on in the culinary field will be equally or more handy. For example, I realized here that the patisserie skills that I have, there's such a huge demand. They can't find good patissiers, even though your passport abroad would be through the Indian chef route. So just
you
bear
can
that
move around. Yep. So let me do this. This is a good point. Let me then end with the two of you, which is Chef Daman and you. This is the final question to the panel and just the two of you. Tell me about the fact that, you know, you worked in countries, you're in Australia, Chef Daman, let's start with you. Any kind of challenges that you faced for Indians working abroad? How do you, because you talked about culture assimilation, can you hit upon the fact that what were the challenges you faced and how did you overcome it? You know, any kind of personal biases that came in, etc., from your perspective, Chef Daman?
See, it's personal bias or see, challenges are most importantly, the challenges will be there for the students. The first challenge will be the emotional. So missing the family. So they have to be prepared. They are stepping away from the comfort where everything is done by the parents. And when they come to the country, they have to do everything by themselves. Financial challenges will be there. With the currencies and the job challenges, they have to fight. They have to grab every opportunity. They have to start from the lower level and then they make their way up. And they have to be ready to accept the challenge and to prove. So if I'm an employee, if somebody comes from overseas and they say, I have done this, I have done that, they say, okay, you are here, now do it. So the first breakthrough will be very, very hard. The first job, to getting the first job in the country and
True.
then to make the way up.
Thank you, Chef Daman. And Shende, Sanjay, the last but not the least, the parting thought from you on what have you experienced? Is there been any kind of personal challenges or biases or issues that you've had to overcome and kind of navigate through?
Honestly, no. I've been fortunate. I've taken to life like fish takes to water everywhere, but that's probably because I chose an easy country to go to. Ireland is an English-speaking country. My very earliest part of the education was in an Irish Brothers school to a certain extent, so there was some exposure. It's an English-speaking country, and the people, Irish being the biggest immigrants in the world per population capita population, they know the how to treat immigrants. So I mean, it's not a huge deal. But in Philadelphia, what I thought is that I met an even bigger mix. Like there were Mexicans and suddenly Black Africans and Black Americans and what have you, like, you know, Puerto Ricans. And it's such a learning curve. The international exposure basically brings you to see how different people are, yet at a certain level, how they're all the same.
Same there. Yep, exactly. Human nature is all over the world is the same. It just varies by degrees. But with that, thank you very much from my side to you, Sanjay Shende, to you, Suneet Kumar, to you, Rajat Chatterjee, Anil Pathak, and Chef Daman Shrivastav for taking the time out to answer some of my questions. I hope this made sense to our listeners. Let me pass it on to Arindam. There are a number of questions from our viewers who, and Arindam, please feel free to point to any one of us. We will make a valiant attempt to answer them.
Right. So there are two questions of similar nature, and I'm going to combine the two. One is from Sohan, and the other one is from Rohit Ray. The question from Sohan is, my question is whether doing a master's from abroad worthy under such a scenario. And Rohit Ray asks, is it okay to go abroad just after completing bachelor's degree? So I'm not sure who will take it. Over to you guys, whoever wants to sort of respond.
Let me take a stab at it. Because I guess as regards to education abroad, Suneet and I kind of did a bit of that after having completed hotel management and having worked in India, came abroad and also did a degree, not because of any other reason. It's sometimes important because people don't understand what hotel management in India is, and therefore what is the equivalent correlation to whatever you're doing in, let's say, a place like the United States. So that kind of just helps. It also, primarily, is it helpful? Listen, education will never hurt you. Education will always benefit you. Now, the question is, you have to do an ROI. You have to do a return on investment. You have to see whether the degree that you're pursuing will give you the returns ASAP, because sometimes your skills can be deployed earlier and faster, and then the organization that you join could support you in your educational dreams and aspirations as well. Like in my case, it was done by GE. I joined GE. GE sent me to the US in 1999, And then thereafter, GE felt that, in order for, them to be able to move me up in the career ranks and what have you, just getting a more formal degree aligned with business management would be helpful. So I kind of did that, and I also did a master's, which is not mentioned over here. But that all was not done by me going ahead and applying to those universities. It was done by the company that I was working for, which felt that, it's better for me if they were supporting me in my career aspirations by giving me the opportunity to go join a university and get a degree and get more accomplished in terms of really proving that, I'm similar to anybody else coming out of a regular education stream, as we may call it. That's my view on this, but I open it up to the others as to how they want to do it.
One thing about, somebody asked about whether to bring experience abroad or go straight for the masters. Both can be considered, but the experience that you get from India is invaluable. You cannot put a price on the experience. Few years of experience from India will make you worthy to stand anywhere in the world. ये इंडिया का दम है. इंडिया में जो बंदा टिक गया वो कहीं फेल नहीं हो सकता. That is the thing that is said. Like, if you have succeeded in India, there is no way you can fail anywhere. So guys, get some experience in India. It's because it's highly competitive, brutal workplace.
That brings me to a very pertinent question, which obviously a lot of the students and recent pass outs are concerned about, and that is the current COVID situation. Now, I've got 3 questions related to COVID. I've got Jaspreet Singh Dawra, who's asking how to rescue the youth in India and abroad from damage done by COVID-19 environment. Apratim Shrivastav is asking, what is the future of hospitality after the COVID era? And there is a long message from Karthik Paul, but essentially it's asking a similar level of whether they should, they should take entry-level jobs to go abroad, or should they go into education? So since this is a specific industry question, maybe I can request Anil and Rajat Chatterjee to respond to this question one by one.
Thanks, Arindam. So quickly, look, the industry is going to go through this COVID phase for the next 2 to 3 years when things might just improve a bit. It's going to be a long journey, right? But nevertheless, what's happening is things are coming back much earlier than we expected. The worst is behind us. That there is absolutely no dispute on. Having said that, I think what's important for the youth to understand today is that the gig economy is what is going to take the world by storm tomorrow. What I mean by the gig economy is you do small stints of jobs in the industry itself in various specializations. So what happens is, if you are working probably as someone in F&B, probably the rest of the week you could be working in another area like revenue management. The thing is, it's another way to alternatively look at how do you survive while you're getting and waiting for the industry to come back. I think you have to change your perspective, firstly, if you need to survive this era. And this era is going to be very different. You're going to be doing gigs rather than permanent jobs. The days of permanent employment with hotel companies, it's all gone. It's going to be contractual. You need to adapt, and you need to make the best out of it. Like Suneet said earlier, what are you going to get best out of adversity? And this is what is coming here. Take this time to get more experience in different areas while still making the money, not as much as you did before, but enough for you to keep on going for this next 3 to 4 years and maybe even longer. Rajat?
Yeah, listen, I completely agree with Anil. And this is, first and foremost, we all of us, when we were going through catering college and our initial years in India, we all wanted to go outside the country and make money and, kind of get experience. But India as a country, again, is phenomenal in, as Sanjay said earlier, in your initial learnings. And don't limit yourself to the only opportunity of working outside of India. Please, get your pips in India, learn the job, multifunctionalize, look at ancillary fields where you can develop yourself further, because COVID will last 2-3 years. Yes, perhaps the worst is over in a few countries. Some countries are still going through certain challenges, India being one of them. Never lose hope. because we've also had, okay, we've never had a challenge like COVID earlier, but we've also had challenges in our careers. And I'll give you my personal example. I was opening a hotel. The owner ran out of money. The hotel would not open. I had to let go of all the people, and we had to all find alternate jobs. But you keep the course, you keep your passion, you keep your focus, you make sure that you are following your direction, and slowly but steadily things limp back to normal. Look at Suneet. He started after catering college, and he built his career from operations, being a chef, banquets, and then into revenue management. So as long as we continue adding value to ourselves and learning more and more skill sets, I think the opportunities will come. So do not lose hope. Do not despair. These are difficult times, but the strong survive. They say the strongest survive the difficult times. So please, just be strong.
Very important thing. There's a very important thing. Change is a constant. People don't understand this, that the only constant in life apart from birth and death is change. Change will always happen. There will be a Gulf War. Daman has faced it. There will always be a second Gulf War, which happened during our times when we came out of college, 1990, 91. Nobody was hiring in the hotel industry. There will be a COVID. There will be something else. You have to be prepared to pivot. The word is pivot. The word is trying to make good with what your resources at this point is, and also be aware reality is coming. My son is just doing a project on virtual reality. Virtual reality is taking over certain of the very people-dependent processes, because you could do it remotely, sitting somewhere else through a Microsoft HoloLens, and be able to control operations in mundane areas where supervisors used to go. Now you can't be sitting in your own cocoon and thinking that this isn't going to happen. You have to be always thinking that things are going to happen. Things will be a challenge for you. The biggest thing is, I think, what Chef Daman Shrivastav said: learn your basics well. Identify what you want to do and get behind it to do it well, that you recognize for the fact that you've learned something very well, because that is your passport to really opening up the future for you, because you've become a subject matter expert. And then you should be able to pivot around and build based on what else you could do and kind of leverage that. But don't think that you're a generalist and generalists will help you. You have to become a specialist somewhere, and then from that specialization, get into generalization and then into specialization. It is a transition. It is a movement around how you narrow down, how do you expand, and how do you narrow down it again. And I'm talking from an outside industry.
Yeah, thanks a lot. In fact, there is one, you mentioned about technology, and you mentioned about, something that your son was practicing. So this question goes out to Suneet. And if anybody else wants to address that after that is also fine. From Tarun Thakur, one piece of tech or stroke idea or process which will help hospitality industry to tide over this COVID crisis. So specific to hotel industry, talking about technology to tide over the COVID. So over to Sumit, and then if anybody else wants to take it after that.
Arindam, I think there is enough technology which is in different stages of testing today. So I won't comment about what impact of technology will be on the hospitality industry today. There will be all type of industries that will pop up, the sanitization, the health, safety issues, and other stuff. But one thing that I'm very sure, learning from COVID, what we have learned as hoteliers, because we are housing in our hotels people who are going through quarantine or self-isolation and things like this, there will be a big impact on hotel designs. Hotel designs will be certainly impacted to make sure that food and beverage operating areas, banquet and catering operating areas, and as well as guest room have different access points, so that in case a similar situation happens, the hotel can be isolated and different revenue streams or revenue sections of the hotels can still operate. And we are facing this challenge every day in Singapore. We have hotels who are committed to take this isolation business, but now as we still need food and beverage revenue, we still need catering and banquet revenues. And the government guidelines are very simple. If you can isolate the area, you can open the area. So I personally think there will be a big impact on how the hotels will be designed in future, especially the ones that will start constructions from next year. I just want to take the opportunity just to add on education, right? Since the recruitment is going to be bad, and what Rajat said, looking at the ROI, if you can afford the education now, you can pass the recruitment cycle and relaunch yourself in 1.5 years to 2 years if you have, resources to go for further education now. Do that.
Yep.
On the
Is there
technology,
anybody?
can I come in with another point briefly?
Yes, sure, please do.
Yeah, you see the way aggregation, the likes of what's that, Oyo hotels, Uber Eats, technology beyond the hotel industry, but related to hotel industry. Start getting creative, guys. There are opportunities if you look closely enough in the post-COVID area. Sometimes, you know, a bad precedent becomes an opportunity for the future. Just try to explore all those aspects as well on the technology front. If you can kind of create anything out of this, which might be the niche or the future requirement in the industry.
Arindam, if I can add that the technology that one should study is an app called WeChat in China. WeChat is not an app. WeChat is a super app. You can do anything in that. So every other companies are, I mean, whether it is Grab, whether it is Uber, they're trying to find and stimulate what WeChat is doing. So that is a technology which is way ahead in terms of how the payment and everything else happens. So if you want to study the recent trends, WeChat is something worth studying.
And I think we are also very keenly watching the space in which Jio is getting into, and they are getting into some really exciting space on similar lines. They made some announcements, and I think they're fairly ambitious with data-driven technology. So we'll also see how that goes. So I hope, Tarun, that responds to some of your queries. There is a very unique question from Mr. Yogesh Bhatt. Maybe a request Anil to respond to this question. If one is experienced bell captain in hotel industry, what's the career options for that person in abroad or in India? Well, this is a international sort of panel, so we'll just focus on abroad. If there is any scope for such a bell captain experienced person.
So, well, Arindam, the response to this could be definitely what does that person want to do in the long run, correct? Mm-hmm. So if he's a captain today, what does he want to become next 3 years, next 5 years? And then he needs to chalk his path out. If he's a bell captain, getting a job in a place like Dubai, it's pretty easy for him to apply, get into some of the new open hotels there. But then the question remains, will this move finally take him to where he wants to go? I think it's all about how you connect the dots. So you can move out of the country at any point of time. You've got to see which is the best time that suits you to reach where you want to go. So if he wants to go and just be a bell captain all of his life, and if that makes him happy, well, that's what he wants to do. But if it does not connect it with where he wants to go tomorrow, I think he's got to give it a thought, stay back for a while, see if he wants to move up into manager, supervisory roles, and then try again to reach his ultimate goal. I'd leave it at that. Thanks.
I think, Arindam, for the role of a bell captain, most of the other countries apart from Middle East and UAE would have local people handling these kind of positions, which is down the layer. So I would suggest that if he's interested to sticking to bell desk and front office and at the position he's talking about, then either he tries the Middle East or develops himself further to take on higher responsibilities or more responsibilities where the opportunities might open up in Southeast Asia.
Thank you very much. So I guess that we are very close to the end of this event. While we were having a chat, Rajat Kapoor and me were chatting on the WhatsApp, and he asked me if we are out of time, and I said I'm just watching the people who are dropping out, and it's very encouraging to see that nobody's dropped out. In fact, people are still getting added, and obviously that means that there is a certain level of interest and value in the kind of responses and the kind of discussion we've had. So I will just like to say, first of all, Suneet, Daman, Rajat Chatterjee, and Anil, Rajat, I mean, all of you really, really deeply appreciate your time, and I think from my expectations to what we've been able to do today is much, much better. I think it was very incisive. It was very specific. If I was a student today in the college or recent pass out, I would say that this would be very valuable information based out of the experiences of people like Suneet and Daman and Rajat and Sanjay and Anil and Rajat. So deeply appreciated. Thank you very much. I think we can demand this out of the alumni of our college, and so to much appreciate from PIMA, the executive committee. I think some of our executive committee is also here. We would like to convey a very big thank you to all of you, and rest be assured we will draw on your expertise, experience in future when the need be. So thank you very much. And if you have to say one last thing before you leave, each one of you, maybe that's a good way of signing off. So we'll start with Rajat and then go on to Daman.
Rajat Chatterjee, I suppose you go first.
Okay.
Defer to the
So age before beauty, is it?
I'll take the beauty, man.
So, I think we guys had a chat a couple of days earlier as well. And one of the things that we can offer to some of the new students who are in this crisis situation, we can maybe help mentor a few people. If you guys need any assistance, you can, Arindam, you can share our information with some of your students. And if they wish any, inputs or anything we can assist with, being a part of the alumni of Pusa, anything we can do to help, please let us know. And at least personally, I'll be happy to help as best as I can. So, but having said that, I think this is a fantastic setup that you've started, Arindam. This is phenomenal. I think drawing on the experience of ex-Pusa alumnus and sharing our experiences, which will obviously help the new students kind of transition into a professional work life. So apart from that, thank you very much. It was a great opportunity.
I really want to thank all of you, all the panels. Rajat, thank you so much. And everyone who joined today. Same as what Rajat said, that I'm happy to mentor in any way I can help, whatever I know, whatever I experienced, whatever I learned. Please, Arindam, share my details. I'm happy to give my time. Digitally, when the things open, I can come down to India and train them. So I'm there for Pusa and all of your students. So feel free to pass my details. Join me in social media, whichever way you can connect to me. I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Over to Anil Pathak.
Arindam, thank you so much for getting us all together. I think the only one piece that was missing between all of us and Pusa was that we did not have a strong alumnus or an alumni association. If you look across some of the best colleges, the pivotal factor there, and I'll use Rajat's word pivot. So the pivotal factor was how each and every alumni supported pass out students by giving them the right opportunities. And I think we haven't done that enough within the Pusa society itself. And I think if each of us can take a pledge to keep that in mind and support students coming out of this college, let me tell you, we would go leaps and bounds. So thank you for introducing this. And I think we all need to support this cause and the people who are passing out from the college moving forward.
Right. Thank you. Over to Sanjay Shende.
Well, everything that could be said has been said, so I'm probably going to give it a wee twist of humor. You have a ready-made paua as you pass out, guys, in form of the alumni that we are, always willing to extend our hands and help. So, bana banaya paua hai, fayda uthao yaar.
That is as frank and free as Sanjay gets. And in fact, some of us are happy that he's limiting it to that level. Over to Suneet.
I mean, Arindam, I think everybody has said everything. We welcome
parting words.
I mean, we welcome anybody who needs any help, you know, and it's a lifelong learning journey. I'm still learning, you know, and it will be happy to host anybody who comes to Singapore. So please do connect with us whenever you are in Singapore, and I will do the same whenever, if this COVID-19 situations changes and the travel's open, and I will come and connect with you. So keep connecting. That's the motto of hospitality industry. Thank you.
Right, and over to Rajat.
Listen, Arindam, this was amazing. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of host and moderate this session. And I really want to thank all the 5 members. Really, you were right. The big challenge was these guys have grown up with, we've grown up with each other. So keeping Sanjay Shende in check, I wasn't sure what he might spout or what Anil Pathak might bring on from our days in the hostel, or Rajat Chatterjee might expose. Of course, Daman Chef being much too senior than us, you know, but there was no fear of any kind of exposure happening there, either from him or by us for him. But with the others, there was always that constant threat. So I must say, you guys are an amazing group of panelists who, you know, helped me make the session meaningful. Thank you for your insight and what have you. The only parting thought I'll give you guys is keep your eyes open, keep your brains clear. There is no rigid path to your growth and your success. The growth and success depends upon how open you are to adopting change. And again, I'll use my favorite word, pivoting with the realities of today. You have to ensure that, like, you know, I started with hotels and I'm in a bank right now and I need a $3 trillion opportunity. It doesn't happen because I decided to stick to one line of thinking. If you feel you have more in you, go explore that option. Don't bind yourself and limit yourself, because your own mind will limit you from growing. That is exactly what you need to do. Think beyond, because you have the capability. You just need to find the opportunity and find the right people who can get you to that place where you need to get to. And we are all here to help you and, you know, provide our views and mentor you as the case may be. Please count on us. I may not be able to get you a job because I don't work in the hotel industry anymore. I don't even, my people are Rajat Chatterjee and Anil Pathak and Arindam Kunar, who I'd probably pass your resumes to, but I can help you with how to kind of think about things differently. You could even become a film producer. I'll help you with that. There's a friend of mine, Meher Sarid, she and I have agreed we'll make Chichore 5. We call it Chichore 5 because that will be really the real movie coming out. I'll be a film producer. I want to think about something different. Why restrict yourself to F&B and poisson and, you know, whatever it is, you know, legume and roti and, you know, entremet? Why? You have to think beyond. You have to think beyond what you were taught in those 7 years.
That's great. I just have an announcement before everybody leaves, and I am extremely proud and happy to already announce our next Pusa Talk Roundtable. And this is something that is, you know, very, very close to my heart. This is a session for people who are alumni of IHM Pusa, who have had the courage and the conviction to follow their heart and follow their passion and follow their dreams. So we've got Sharad Vats, who's now a wildlife enthusiast and photographer. We've got Madhulika Little, who's an author and a blogger. She's got a very successful book. Neeta Iyer was an RJ, a podcaster, and also an author of a book. Vineet Panchi is very, very well known across India now. He's actually a sort of a celebrity in his own right, a poet, a storyteller, and a filmmaker. And I've got Gary, who of course passed out of IHM, went on to be in the army, and is now a security intel and risk expert. So that's on the 29th of August at 11:30. Looking forward to your participation. I think this is going to be slightly different, but very enriching. And I think the way that we've got off with the first Pusa talk, I think going forward, we will be enriched furthermore. So thank you very much, all of you, for being there. Thank you to the panelists, the moderator, and all of those people who attended. Deeply appreciated. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you to both the three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.